Once upon a time, in a small village where everything moved as slowly as a morning breath, the wind slipped through the bamboo like soft whispers. There lived two brothers. The elder one was named Ethan. He was unusually intelligent. He only needed to hear something once to remember scriptures, and when he spoke, it was as if he had already touched the edge of enlightenment. Philosophy, spiritual truths, things people spend a lifetime trying to grasp, Ethan could explain calmly, slowly, like someone who had walked through those inner landscapes himself. People admired Ethan. They called him the chosen one. Some even whispered, perhaps one day he'll become enlightened. And then there was his little brother Jamie, big-eyed, always smiling, with a heart so pure it seemed untouched by anything complicated. But Jamie didn't understand much. One time he took a handful of roasted rice and planted it in the garden, thinking roasting would make it sprout faster. Another time he bowed politely to a scarecrow in the field, believing it was a meditating monk. Adults shook their heads. Children giggled. Everyone said Jamie was foolish. Everyone. Except Ethan. And Jamie? He never saw himself as lesser, because he had a big brother. He trusted Ethan like someone trusts the morning sun to rise. Jamie followed Ethan everywhere, like a small shadow chasing after a larger one. Not for some noble ideal, just because, wherever you are, I want to be there too. That's how their journey began. Not with wisdom, but with love. One afternoon, golden light spilled across the old steps. Ethan sat quietly for a long time. He wasn't reading, not writing, just staring out at the dusty road stretching beyond the village. Jamie came over, tilting his head. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan turned slowly, voice calm. "I'm leaving, going to a monastery. I want to learn from those who have truly found peace. I think it's time." Jamie said nothing, just stood there in the kind of silence only a child can carry, not fully understanding, but somehow sensing the wind was about to change. A few days later, while Ethan packed his things, Jamie busily packed too: old clothes, a cloth-wrapped pillow, a tiny bamboo broom. Ethan furrowed his brow. "Jamie, this path isn't easy. It's not a game. It takes discipline, understanding, awareness." Jamie looked up with his wide eyes. "I know I'm not smart. I don't understand things like you do, but I don't want to stay if you're not there." He said it as plainly as someone grabbing a jacket when it rains. No big philosophy, no reasoning, just one simple thing. Love doesn't need to be explained. Ethan sighed, not from annoyance, but because, for a moment, he wasn't even sure if he truly understood this path anymore. So they went. One carried a dream of enlightenment, the other, pure-hearted love. That's all there was. No lofty ideals, no grand teachings, just two brothers walking the same road because one couldn't bear to leave the other behind. The monastery sat atop a quiet hill where mornings didn't begin with alarms, but with birdsong echoing through the valley. Where people greeted each other with just a glance. And breakfast was simple: steamed rice, boiled greens, never fancy but always warm. From the very first days, Ethan shined. He absorbed teachings like dry earth soaking in rain. His meditation was unshakable. His words, deep, composed. The monks nodded. Fellow students respected him. Some even whispered he was born for this path. Jamie got lost, literally. On the first day, he couldn't find the meditation hall. On the second, he brought a goat into the main prayer room, convinced it was a reincarnated monk. One day, while everyone chanted sutras, Jamie was busy counting fallen petals. "They're too beautiful. I want to know how many." Some laughed. A few pitied him. Most just shook their heads. People whispered behind his back, just like they did in the village. Even Ethan grew tired. One evening, he sat beside Jamie and said softly, "Jamie, this is a place of discipline, a place for mindfulness, for silence. You need to try harder. Please, don't keep making messes others have to clean up." Jamie gave a crooked smile, eyes down like a child being gently scolded. "I know. I just learn things slower than others." Then he picked up a fallen leaf, held it close, as if listening to it. Ethan didn't speak. But in that moment, something stirred inside him. Maybe, just maybe, His little brother saw things he himself had never stopped long enough to notice. That morning, the sky was crystal clear, as if someone had wiped it clean the night before. The monastery bell echoed softly across the stone courtyard, still wet with dew. Jamie, as always, was awake early. He carried his little cloth bag full of petals. No one knew what he planned, least of all himself. He didn't know he would meet the Buddha that morning, and he certainly didn't know a simple object would change everything. When the Buddha called his name, everyone looked up in surprise. Jamie folded his hands, bowed, and ran forward, dusty feet tapping lightly on stone. The Buddha smiled, gentle as spring light. "Jamie," he said, "from today you have a special task." Jamie blinked. "Yes, master?" "You will sweep morning and evening. Every courtyard, every path, every step. Keep them clean." Jamie tilted his head. "Sweep? The floors?" Some nearby chuckled. It sounded like, give the silly one a simple job. But the Buddha didn't laugh. He gently placed a bamboo broom into Jamie's hands and said, "Not everyone needs more words. Some must learn by seeing, some by doing. Let the broom be your teacher." Jamie held it as if it were a sacred gift. He didn't understand everything, but he felt something quiet and old move in his heart, like standing in front of a great tree and not needing anyone to explain how long it had lived. So Jamie swept, not to prove anything, not to impress anyone, just to sweep. One leaf at a time, one corner at a time, day after day. While others meditated, chanted, debated teachings, Jamie moved quietly through the monastery, broom in hand, eyes open, heart listening. No one taught him what to look for, but slowly he began to see. Jamie's job wasn't special. Every morning before the sky fully brightened, he was already outside, broom in hand, starting from the first stone step before the meditation hall. Sweep, gather, dust off, repeat. Everything repeated so much that even Jamie began to wonder, didn't I sweep this yesterday? Why is it full again today? At first he thought maybe he wasn't doing it well enough. But then he started to see. Leaves didn't fall because he missed a spot. They fell because the wind blew, because the trees changed seasons, because the earth kept moving, because that's simply how nature works. Jamie no longer felt frustrated. He swept again. Second time, third time, more. But now, without resistance. He began to notice small joys, the way a golden leaf twirled before touching stone, how the dust spiraled briefly, then settled like it never left. Even the silence, in the quiet corners no one else noticed. It was beautiful. One morning, Jamie froze mid-sweep. He looked at the freshly cleared path, already covered in fallen leaves, and whispered to himself, "Strange. No matter how much I sweep, it never stays clean." He looked up at the sky, and the thought drifted softly into his heart, just like my mind. I clear it of worry, but the next day, thoughts return again. He leaned the broom against the wall, gazing at it like an old friend, and quietly said, "Maybe I need to sweep my mind the same way I sweep these leaves." No one heard him, but the wind did. And the sun had just begun to rise, and perhaps, far off under the shade of the temple's roof, the Buddha also smiled, just a little. That afternoon, Jamie stood quietly in the courtyard. He had just finished sweeping a walkway, only to see more leaves already falling. He walked to the Buddha, bowing low. "Master, I sweep every day, morning and evening, but the ground still gets dirty, leaves still fall. Am I doing something wrong?" The Buddha looked at him, eyes as still as water. "You've done nothing wrong. It's just the trees keep letting go. That's what they do." Jamie's face lit up, like something old had just clicked into place. "My mind is like that too, isn't it? Even when I feel calm today, tomorrow the worries come back." The Buddha smiled. "And that is why we must sweep the mind every day." Jamie nodded just once, but deep inside, he knew. From this moment on, the broom wasn't just for sweeping leaves anymore. The next morning, the Buddha gathered the monks in the courtyard. Amid puzzled glances and whispers, he spoke softly. "Today, Jamie will speak." Even Ethan, the brother, the prodigy, paused in disbelief. Jamie stood up, the broom still in his hands. His steps weren't firm, but his gaze was steady. He could feel the stares, curious, skeptical, even amused. But he walked forward anyway. Standing at the center, he bowed, then spoke softly. I'm not good with words. I don't understand all the deep things others talk about, but every day, I sweep. He looked up, eyes clear like morning mist. At first, I thought it was just chores, sweeping dust, gathering leaves. But over time, I noticed something. No matter how well I sweep the next day, the ground is full again. And then I saw my mind is the same. The courtyard grew quiet. Even the birds seemed to hush. Some days I feel peaceful, but then the next, anxiety returns. Anger, sadness, they all come back, like fallen leaves. I can't keep the ground clean forever, and I can't keep my mind calm forever either, but I can keep sweeping. He inhaled slowly, still holding the broom like a companion. That's all I know. As long as I keep sweeping, the path will be clear again, and the mind will be clear too. Jamie bowed. The whole courtyard fell into stillness. No clapping, no praise, just stillness, as if the very air had stilled to listen. After a long pause, the Buddha finally spoke. That is true wisdom. Not from books, but from the clarity of a heart. Ethan sat, unmoving. All these years, memorizing, debating, meditating, to Pita fall, yet now, it was his little brother, once called foolish, who had just spoken the deepest truth, holding nothing but a broom and honesty. That night, under a soft silver moon, Ethan found Jamie quietly sweeping the garden path. The sound of the broom, swish, swish, like breathing. Ethan watched for a while, then walked over. You were amazing today, he said gently. Jamie looked up, scratching his head with a sheepish grin. Really? My knees were shaking the whole time. Ethan laughed, a real heartfelt laugh. Then his voice softened again. You taught me more today than 100 teachings ever could, in just one moment. Jamie blinked. Really? Ethan didn't answer. He bent down, picked up a second broom, and stepped beside his brother. Together they swept. Dry leaves, small twigs, quiet wind. Not just clearing the path to Pitha, but gently brushing away the dust within their hearts. That night the leaves kept falling, but their hands kept moving. Not to make the courtyard stay clean forever, but to let the heart become clear, again and again.